through making those decisions and watching how they turn out, which usually doesn't turn out in favor because when you're making a decision rooted from a not a place of stillness and faith and inner being and my truth.
Right.
Usually, the journey and the process of the experiences of that decision, things aren't going to be favorable. That's going to lead me back to a place of, oh wow,
Right.
okay, I see who I'm not. Or you know what's funny about life? I find that sometimes the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, right, allows me to attain something
Yes.
that I think I needed
Yeah.
for me to be okay.
Yeah.
And I get it, and it doesn't fix. I can cry about just seriously.
I really believe that every single thing really is happening the way it's supposed to when it's supposed to, and sometimes it's difficult. Like there are things where it doesn't make sense. You sit back and you're like, but why did this have to happen like this? Okay, doesn't mean that I don't believe that it didn't happen for a reason, and I believe that everything's really meant to benefit us and each other.
Okay.
And I believe that it's really meant to be for a greater good. That whole thing of just being about us or the selfishness is not really what it's supposed to be about. It should be more of a collective. But I do believe that everything's supposed to happen for the reason it is, and that it's all meant for us to learn from and gain from. When I think about myself, it's so funny because whenever I describe myself from like any other, like Catwoman, my best supporting actress role, which was Liar's Pendulum, I won 2 awards for that role actually. You know, those were different people ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes I sit there and I'm like, I would not do so much of different things that I'd done or put up with or certain choices that I made if I was who I am right now.
Oh, okay.
But if I didn't go through those things, maybe I wouldn't be who I am right now.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I always think too, I'm like, if I could go back, and sometimes I'm like, I wish I could go back in time and tell myself when I was this rebellious teenager, or when I was, certain different aspects of my life where, like I said, I've always really...
You was a rebellious teen?
I was very rebellious.
Really?
Very rebellious.
There you go.
Like I said, I did whatever I wanted to do, but my parents tried to ground me and give me the consequences. I would still do.
And you still, it didn't work.
Was you rebellious because were they strict? Was they strict parents?
No, my parents were super liberal in many, many ways, even to this day. However, my mother was, there were things there, she was very controlling, tried to be. There were times that she'd be very demeaning. Extremely since I was a kid, like I always felt like I was being compared to everybody else. Couldn't just be me. I couldn't just like sit here and be me. I had to. Oh, look at those kids playing over there. Don't you want to do that? Like no, I just want to sit here. Like if I wanted to do that, I would do it.
I would be doing it.
I thought that was typically like West Indian parents that was like that, but it seemed like everybody's parents.
You hear about it a lot, and I think like it's funny because like what your whole thing of conversations and the importance of talking. This is what's happening now. My brother's girlfriend reminded me the other day about social media, how there's people from all over the world are now having this way to relate to each other and to have those conversations and see that they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
And that's why there are a lot of changes happening now, and it's going into a good direction.
That's why we named it Conversations.
I think it's perfect.
You? Okay, so I feel like acting helped to really tell my stories. It made the stories I told through music more relatable. But this kind of jumped out at me, and I wanted to talk to you about that. I couldn't wait for you to come. I'm really glad you come because even Jeff was like, "Oh man, if she doesn't show, she could have always did a phone interview with us because we love talking to people. We really do.
Absolutely.
And that's why I do this for him because I know he loves this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really enjoying myself, by the way, so thank you. You guys are
Oh,
great.
we appreciate it.
I hope to reach as many people as possible with my messages of love, positivity, hope, and respect. So when people mention qualities like that, sometimes it gets me to, and I'm not always right, but did you experience the opposite of those things in your life?
Oh yeah, totally.
Because usually when we yearn for those qualities, it's because we've been at the other end.
It's, you know what, I've been through it, absolutely.
Give me, give me a couple of experiences for our listeners, because with us, this is the caterpillar. So we talk about the caterpillar to the butterfly.
Right.
I want somebody listening to hear some things that you've been through, right?
Yeah.
And see where you are now and go, oh shoot, so I can make it.
Yeah.
Because there's people.
No,
out
for
there
real. And I've had
hopeless.
my experiences, you know. I just want to say, first off, my mother and I are like super close to at this point in my life. We've worked a lot of things out. But it starts with her, for sure. You know, my mom, with all of that. Love, positivity, respect, hope even. You know, I had support, but then there were so many things where, again, for me, the feeling being a child, and I was very aware of what didn't feel good or feel right, you know. And I always say my mother meant well. She has a lot of love. She's a very giving, loving person, but she's got a lot of her own stuff that gets in the way, and used to really get in the way, you know. And if you want to go back to her life, because it's really a lot of it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Her father was very abusive, and his parents were cold, and you know what I mean. So it really just goes back, and it's not an excuse, because as adults, we work on it and fix it, you know. And my mom's very open. We all have great communication like that. I can tell her very honestly how I feel and what I think she's got to work on, and she will be aware of it, you know. But you know, that feeling when you're a kid and feeling like, number one, how could this person who's my mom be so demeaning to me, you know, or to my father, or to my, you know, I know you love me, but how is that love, you know?
Right.
Even, I mean, you know, even though they supported me in my life and my career, and I struggle with this to this day with her in sharing information with her, because for me, everything that I'm doing is another little stone of success. You know, every little thing that you do is another little stone of success, you know, on your path. And it always felt like it was never good enough for her, you know? Whenever I would share anything, like, oh, I'm so excited I got this show. Oh, but is there money? Oh, but how much? Oh, but this. Oh, but this. You know, and it goes right to the doubt and the negative, and there goes that hope, and there goes that, you know, the positivity, you know, and it's like, you know, I've had conversations recently with her about it even, you know, and she's comes from a good place, you know, she just worries and she wants the best for me, but that's not putting the right energy towards me and towards what I'm trying to achieve. It's kind of like if you take a kid and you're always like, oh, you're so bad, you're so bad, you're so bad. I mean, of course they're going to be like, they're not going to think anything positive about themselves and their place in this world.
So it's not that she's not supportive, but she's supportive, but there are certain things that's part of your lifestyle and part of the things that you want to do that she's not too optimistic about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, she's been with me on the journey. I've been in this industry in different facets since I remember, and there's a lot of BS, and there's a lot of scams, and there's a lot of talk, and there's a lot of, hey, I met this, and we talked about this, and then nothing happens, and, you know, there's a lot of that, you know, you know, my mother has a job that she's a project manager, and she's amazing what she does, but it's a very different world. Very different career. Everything about it is different. how you make money, everything. I mean, honestly, like, I get paid very well. I make way more than her an hour when I sing for the assisted living facility guys. Way more than her for an hour.
Wow.
But I don't do it 8 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
9 hours a day, 5 days a week. I don't do that. So it's a different lifestyle, like you were saying. You know what I mean? It's a different culture completely. And sometimes people don't realize, like, I mean, she didn't have somebody to teach her to be positive, how to really give positive reinforcement, how to not let your fears and your worries get the better of you, and that's what ends up guiding you and leading you, or your anger, your pain, and these kinds of things, you know, your past experiences. She never had that. So I don't know, I've always been so aware of these things, you know, so now that's what I feel like is partly why I'm here for her, is to also help her be aware of these things. And we all live together, actually. We all, like my father, my mother, me, my daughter, my brother, his girlfriend, we all live together in a nice big house in New Jersey.
Nice.
And I felt like we got a redo button in all of our relationships together as a family unit, as a tribe. Because, you know, like I hadn't lived with them for like many years. My brother was doing his thing, and then they were somewhere else. So then when they kind of came back to New Jersey, and then when I got pregnant, my mom was like, be with us. You don't have to worry about anything. You have a home. You know, you're good. You and your daughter are good.
Yeah.
And because I'm her father co-parents, but we're not together like that.
Okay.
And I'll get into that too about respect and stuff. I want to bring that aspect up.
I want to get into that before we got into plead for love, because
Yes.
then that
Right.
gets
Segues
us into
perfectly.
that.
Yeah.
the Trump
perfectly.
and the stuff, because
Exactly.
this show started as a result
Really?
of me being in I don't want to say in a dark place, but I was very, as African Americans, we have a different relationship with this country. And when people that, we're like, you just can't be that. Like, I mean, come on. 16, 19, Youngstown, Virginia. The first one was boy as a slave. I mean, for you just to not be sensitive
Right.
to, we're not saying that all of the stuff that goes on in our community is right. We're not saying that we don't do hurtful things to each other. We're not saying that. We're just saying that, you know, if you can't understand us having a different relationship with this country than somebody who that wasn't their experience, and you don't understand our experience, then it's just like, well, damn, what planet are you living on?
It's a lack of empathy.
It's a lack of empathy.
Right.
And then so what happened with me was, the same country that elected Barack Obama went to the polar opposite
Oh, yeah.
and elected Donald Trump. And it was just like, seriously? I don't want to hear nothing about the popular vote or whatever. I don't care about that. The bottom line is, you went from someone who didn't even have a hiccup in office, who, if he did, you'd have probably shot him or would have definitely got him out, right?
Right.
Didn't do nothing wrong. Held his wife's hand, hugged her, kissed her. Matter of fact,
got on stage a couple of times.
Got criticized being too loving, or you know, remember the time he felt the ass?
Yeah.
You know, they tongue kissing, or you know, to this, right? And I was just like, I fell in a place. I said, okay. And then it was like, I remember the words of Martin Luther King that he got from Gandhi: "Be the change you seek." So I come from a family of, yo, okay, you can get a little time to complain, I get up off your ass and do something. And that was sort of like the beginning of this, you know, because out of our experiences of turmoil, if something doesn't flower beautiful out of it, then it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. I always say to turn it into gold, you know?
And that's what you've done with your life.
That's...
Yeah.
And did you do that? Were you able to do that with your experience with your divorce? Was it a divorce?
I had gotten a divorce. It was different people though. Like my daughter's father is not the same person as that
Okay.
marriage was.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to say too with the love and positivity, empathy, like all these things I'm talking about, it's not even just what I've been through in my own life. I mean, I think because I was so empathetic and aware since I was a kid, like I said, of what didn't feel good to me or to other people. When I was a kid, I was friends with everybody. I was not a part of cliques. I, really just wanted to connect with people. And have mutual respect for everybody. If I would hear racism, I couldn't stand it. People hurting each other, I couldn't stand it, even as a kid, and so a lot of the love, positivity, and hope, respect, it's also stemmed from my empathy of everybody in the world.
Of just the world's situation.
Everything.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah,
That's a special,
like that.
Yeah.
It's bittersweet because I feel so grateful that I'm so open and connected to be able to feel others, and when others are feeling and going through, I have many spirit type of experiences too since I was a kid, and I've always been open like that and able to sense and feel things.
But it leaves you vulnerable too.
And that's the thing. And
Caring
then
too much.
Emotionally, I mean, I understand the dark place that you were in because I feel debilitated when these things are going on. And everything from, first off, even if I didn't have a kid, knowing that little children are going to school and having to worry about school shootings. Know that any human being has to walk around and worry about shootings and being shot and killed.
Yeah, because they don't care.
It doesn't even matter what it is.
And then you say the teachers need guns. Seriously, I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's not the direction to go in. It's just not. Let's make this a military freaking country now? No. You know what I mean?
My kindergarten teacher was Miss Calabro. I can't imagine Miss Calabro. She was the sweetest lady.
The ones that hated the students. Are you kidding me?
Because you big on wanting people to come together.
I think it's the most important thing.
Right.
And it's I was just telling this artist that I modeled for over 10 years. I was modeling for him yesterday, and I'm like, sometimes I really feel like I'm an alien because I'm just I don't feel like I belong here.
You don't belong.
Because the love that I feel and the way that I can't even imagine why people would want to hurt each other. I can't imagine.
Let's get back to your child's father.
Yes. Oh right. So respect. So my daughter's father and I had always had a very tumultuous relationship. We didn't even date that long. We met over 10 years ago, or now it's been over 16 years ago. But then we didn't get together until much later in life, and then it was very tumultuous. But then I got pregnant. I was going to break up with him, and then I got pregnant, and then the hormones and all that stuff, and I grew up with 2 parents, whatever. It just gets confusing. But it was a terrible relationship, and he had no respect for me. Literally was everything was a problem. Didn't like anything I wore, didn't like how I did this, didn't like how I did that, then would start to be very verbally abusive, mentally and emotionally abusive to me.
Was he physical?
No, not physical, but mental and emotional abuse is that's what they say. They say it's even worse.
I heard that.
Because of what it does to your psyche. So we're talking about determination, positivity.
Self-esteem was.
It's all of that. It's it just does something to you. It becomes this thing that kind of holds you.
Was it like that at first though, or
it was? Very early on, I started to experience that with him, and the way he would respond or ask questions, very judgmentally. You know what I mean? Very, and then almost looking down on. He was talking about. I won't go. I don't know who might see it in the world, but he was talking about somebody in his family being arrogant, and I was like, really? I'm like. And what's that like?
Well, look, I got a friend that says, if you spot it, you got it.
It's a mirror, yeah.
He said, if you spot it,
that's deep.
You got it. If you spot it, you got it.
Do you
And then he also says, if it came out of you, shout out to Mark. If it came out of you, it must be you. So when somebody says something and it comes out of them, that's you.
Yeah, we're looking into a mirror. We look into mirrors. We reflect it. You know, that's what we notice.
Could be a possibility he probably was going through something.
He's gone through a lot of stuff. He has a lot of stuff with his inner self. I mean, that's a given. You know, he's got so much that he's held on to, that he holds on to. It's my daughter's father, and it's another human being, so I'm constantly like, you gotta just, like, move on. You know, you gotta let things go, you gotta move on, and all this kind of stuff. He's somebody that doesn't acknowledge, he doesn't take responsibility.
Ooh.
He doesn't acknowledge
that they're wrong in any situation. Oh my goodness.
So Nikki, did you think that, because usually, sometimes a woman usually think that when a child comes into play, that the man will make an adjustment. Did you think that at first?
Like maybe you can change
No. It was more like we had a conversation, you know, and I also knew that I had somewhere to stay. I had my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need him, so I was kind of like, he wanted to be there. But if he wasn't really going to be there or something, I was going to be okay. My daughter was going to be okay.
Because you had that support.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that it wasn't, there was a lot. I mean, you know what? This person has had different types of drug issues.
Okay.
I had found out about one when my daughter was a year old, almost a year old. And that was the first time I ever found out about it, and it was something like, it was crystal meth. It was like something serious. It wasn't even like I have no problem with weed. I'm a weed person, my whole family, you know. But something like that is a whole other thing. And I didn't even know to the extent of it until I started doing research after I learned about it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I went through a lot of that, you know. And
I heard they like, when they use it, they want to have sex.
Yeah.
Like right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. I don't know. Things that I was suspecting drugs, but I thought like cocaine. I didn't think, like, I would not have even thought that, you know?
Yeah.
But he, you know, was forced to go to rehab, and like, as far as I know, he's not using it. I try to pay attention to what I had realized.
Mm-hmm.
All the signs are really there. If you don't know about it, you don't know. But once you start to learn, you go back and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, listen, there are a lot of things that have gotten better between he and I. But one of those things was having to make a court agreement. Unfortunately, a situation that was like one of those times that I felt like, how am I going to survive this? You know, I never felt like that in my life before, where I just felt like, really, how will I ever be able to, how is this life? You know, I really felt hopeless. I had certain people, only very specific people that I would call to give me like spiritual upliftment and guidance.
Yeah.
Because I needed it so bad at that time, you know. And it was recent. It was last year. You know, there were things going on that I didn't like, towards my daughter. Nothing sexual, but things I didn't like physically, and different things happening, and things that I was concerned about. And then, you know, you don't know. So you don't know those things.
Yeah.
And I was so, like, disturbed. I felt so sick to my stomach that, and I would say to him, don't do this stuff anymore, or stop this, or stop that, you know? So it wasn't even like I didn't say anything. I tried to get him to stop for so long. It was at a point where she was coming home every time after the weekends and saying, oh, daddy's doing this, and daddy's doing that still. And I felt like, you know, I have to do something. Like, I cannot bring my child there. She keeps coming home like this, you know? And
how old is she now?
She's 6.
Okay.
So
they're very aware.
They're much more aware. She was like 4.5. She was very aware then too. You know? And I would
these
ask
4-year-olds now are like 10.
Yeah.
They're a whole different.
Right. I mean, they know if something's going on and it doesn't feel good. And that whole thing is about conversation about that. You know what I mean? And so I was so sick to my stomach that I had a relationship at the time. She was going to a preschool, so I had a relationship with the administrator there, and I was like, look, this is what I saw, and I don't know what to do. And they were like, you got to call child services. Like, they didn't even give me a. They were like, if you don't do it in an hour, we're going to do
Yeah,
it.
because they mandated reporters.
Right, they have to. They have to.
And me and him are preschool owners.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you know.
So we know the drill.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I know you wouldn't think, but we are. Yeah,
so sweet.
Yeah. So,
So, I had no choice. And of course, what I've learned about this person is he's very unpredictable. He will, if he's not getting his way, he will go to extremes and lengths that are very hurtful. And I think that there's something good somewhere in there, but there's a lot that comes out to me that's not good. And, I don't trust, even when he's like being nice, he still has that part of him that's gonna come out when he's not getting what he wants, or if I challenge him in something. So, and I'm not somebody that can just sit back and not say what I have to say, especially concerning my child, I can't escape this person, so now I have to like make sure my child's okay, but, so during that time, he retaliated and he called child services on me. And he like accused me of DUIing, and they had to like do drug tests and whatever, and then unfortunately it was this terrible situation, like going through child services, knowing that like these people could take my child from me, and it was like I was trying to do the right thing, and I was left to no other way to handle it. And then now I'm the one who's being investigated. I'm the one who's stuck in this nightmare when he basically like nothing. The person that was working with him, with me on the case there in New York, because he lives in the city in Manhattan. Basically excused everything. It was unfounded, And what I learned was that it's like, unless they're like in the hospital or there's like signs of abuse or sexual abuse or whatever like that, it's like they won't do anything. So
really?
Even if there are things that are concern or something to worry about, they're gonna like, if they feel like talking to him or, I don't know. I mean, this is what my experience.
It just has to be proved. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're gonna do their investigation.
They're gonna do their investigation.
Stuff could be unfounded if they don't see any physical abuse or marks on the child.
Even if it's like I'm very concerned. I'm very aware of mental everything.
Well, that's true. They have to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to see it.
They'll talk to the child.
They talk to the child, but when they're a certain age, they don't really listen to the child. Like, my child was telling these people things, and they were like, oh, well, she didn't really say anything. I'm like, she was literally telling you everything.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating. It was a very frustrating experience. But at the end of the day, this agreement came out of it. That was scary, too, for lawyers. Unfortunately, it has to be done.
Yeah.
You need to have these boundaries set up. I areas because it was our first agreement that we're it's still our first year with it. We're like working through it all, even like tonight, like once he found out that I was coming here, my parents were gonna watch her. He was like, "Oh, why you need to let me know if I want to be the one to watch." I'm like, it's so out of my way. Like, why? But again, he doesn't necessarily. He's not considerate. Like, he doesn't think about ever like the inconvenience for me or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some of us can't see past our pain.
Yeah.
And we can't see past ourselves.
Right.
And that is selfishness, self-centeredness. Its core. Not being able to see past me. I just can't see past me. Now, those people are capable of making decisions that will benefit you in terms of how it connects to them. So you take it as care, concern.
Right.
You might think it's a hint of altruism,
Right.
but it's
It's
not.
not real.
Right.
It's not
It's
real.
rooted.
It's manipulation.
It's manipulate, and some people practice it because whatever you practice, you get good at.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell when somebody is manipulating or being vindictive towards anything, especially if this if he needs help, if he's going through something inside, he's battling something.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna make anybody, not just you, their life difficult.
Oh no, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a lot of problems with
Mm-hmm.
personal relationships.
Hurt
with,
people.
Hurt people.
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of, so you talked about, this is powerful. I want to read this. On her recent track release, Plea for Love is about my heart and soul hurting anytime I hear about hate or violence. I wrote it during the Trump election. It was about the back and forth violence of everybody every day, people unfriending each other, etc. You talking about social media?
Yeah.
Unfriending's big
You know
now.
what though? I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's hilarious. It really is. I have days where I'm like, I refuse to let social media rule me because
sometimes
it's
people
really
take this
become
stuff
a
seriously.
ruler. No, it's like.
Yeah.
It is a beast. It has control, and I refuse to let it control. But it's so weird when people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna unfriend," I'm like, "Just do it." Like, why are you telling people?
Just
like,
stop
you just
talking.
want the attention.
Oh my
it's
goodness.
the attention.
So you also wrote, we need to come together. These events have affected me so negatively. My words are intended to spark something in people. And so you want to spark, and I like how you use that, spark something in people. So you know that you don't have the capabilities of changing people, but you have the capabilities of being the agent of change.
Right, planting the seed.
You know your limitations. That's wise. You get that from yoga, right?
When she said that, I actually thought of
Being
Tupac.
balanced
Because
teaches
Tupac
you.
said the same thing.
What did he say?
He said,
really?
I want to spark. I may not be able to change the world, but I just want to spark. I want to spark what I do. I just want to spark it in somebody else's brain so they could make the change. So that was similar to what he said.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I love Tupac,
That's
but I
deep.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, he was a special kind of soul too. You know what I mean? So it makes sense.
Very rebellious.
Yeah.
Very rebellious.
Yeah, and I
And
mean,
he was different in so a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because one record, he can make a record like, to hell with Biggie, and I fucked your wife.
Oh, there you go.
Well, listen.
Are you a Gemini?
I'm an Aries. My birthday's actually on Thursday, April 11th.
Oh,
Hey!
It's a lot of
Oh, so you be 32 this week.
I'll be 35.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. See, I almost guessed it.
Yeah, almost. You're close.
But yeah, Tupac's a Gemini. Tupac's crazy as hell. But I guess all of us can be many things. So talk to me about now, where you are in your journey, the things that you got going on, what it is that you're doing now, how your flower is flowering.
Okay. Well, with Plead for Love, I think I'll start there. Plead for Love is on a little mini album that I released called Awake.
Okay.
And so there are just 3 other songs with this little tiny album. But I had wanted to release something like that by September of last year, which I did. So, and they're great. And the track order is literally when I recorded them, like when I wrote and recorded them. Because to me, that's the journey, that's the experience.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going through. So I have that out, and I have a performance coming up, which I will be doing, performing a couple of the songs from there at Sugar Bar this April 13th. Just
See,
Saturdays.
you gonna look up one day, and I'm gonna be sitting there like this.
Yeah.
What's the name? and I gotta get the movie. Like, what's his name?
I was sitting there.
What's the name? He was like, "You gonna let my hand fall off?" In the Billie Holiday movie. Dang, man, what's the actor's name? Oh my goodness gracious! I hate this. I am so tired. The brother from Colt 45. Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams?
Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna see me sitting in a sugar bar like Billy D. Like, So you seen it?
So that's well, it's with this event. It's called now it's my turn.
I spread the figure.
It's right there in your mind, right, Nikki?
You know what
Soul
it is?
Set. It's called the Soul Set.
The Soul Set.
And a radio show called Soul of the Streets is the one that hosts these soul sets.
I think I saw it
Yes.
on social media.
Yes, I was invited to do this last year as well in April. They do it every month, but I was invited last May. To do
We got
it.
to start doing stuff.
And now, it's beautiful.
Podcast.
So they bring some of the most talented, soulful artists from all over the tri-state area. And actually, when I was there last year, somebody from Virginia or somewhere around there in the Carolinas or something flew in for that. So, just a couple songs, but that'll be
Sugar
fun.
Bar?
At the Sugar Bar.
Where's it at?
That's the city.
70-something
The city,
street
right?
in between, I want to say Broadway and West End.
Oh, that's dope.
I believe
Yeah, I know over
it's
there.
in Manhattan, yeah.
I know
Oh,
over there.
okay. So this is a pretty big.
It's a pretty popular music venue. Remember
cool.
Ashford and Simpson, the duo?
Yeah.
They did, what's that song? Rock of Stone, is that it?
Oh, they performed there.
That they own it. Well, the guy's not here anymore with us, but Valerie Simpson. So she owns that
Ashford.
place.
Ashford Pass.
So it's that type. It's a nice place. They do a lot of different types of stuff there.
You said
So
for the
I'll
past
be there.
5 years, as well as the ABC Lounge in East Village.
I did sing at the ABC Lounge. I only sung there once, but they don't do anything to promote, and I'm not. Like it's gotta be mutual. I'm sorry. Like why am I gonna be the only one promoting? This is your venue.
Okay,
you know?
ABC.
Bye bye ABC. But their sound was beautiful.
Their sound was
Their
good.
sound was
Okay,
So
so
you're
high
not at the
ABC.
point where you could just use that as something that you're just going out to just practice because you've reached that level.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like my gigs that I have at Paris Blues, I've been there for about 5 years now, and with the show, the keyboardist, same keyboardist, it's his band, but that's been my show. It's our show, and for me, that's the practice that I get really. With a live band and everything, and I'm on their flyer and stuff like that, website. So at least something's going on with promotion. It's not just me, but something like ABC Lounge. If I didn't have Paris Blues, I would want something more regular. Yeah. But then again, as I said, I also, I sing for these assisted living facilities, so I get a lot of. I'm singing all the time. I'm performing all the time.
You also gotta let your throat rest too, right?
Yeah, thankfully I'm a trained singer, so I definitely know how to use my diaphragm
your
and my
remedies
tools.
and
Yeah, so that if I have to sing a lot in a row or for a lot of hours, I'm good. And then I have the things that I do. It's a lot of self-care too. You're serious about what you do. You have to take care of yourself. And I want longevity. I want to be singing the rest of my life. So, I have my little special elixirs like lemon water and something that simple, but it does a lot.
With some cayenne pepper and
cayenne
honey.
pepper, honey. I put little hops in there that my the person who books me for a lot of these facility gigs, he's the one who was like, try hops. It kind of relaxes everything. So I have my things that I do, gargle salt water.
Okay.
I have my things, and then of course rest, and knowing, trying not to scream too much, being, the things a lot of people might not think about, I think about with my voice, and then I'm working on, so the next single I'm going to release is something that I've been working on completely by myself, and I've been building up the beat, the track, everything, all just me. It's like a dance R&B song, and it's called Faith in Me. And it's interesting because you have this, one of the things I think on your site, talking about faith and belief, the process. My song is the chorus is about believing and having faith in myself.
Yeah.
And when I first started,
from faith
yeah,
to belief.
Yeah, exactly. Just being able to just have a trust and the knowing, the belief in knowing comes along with it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a really hot song, and it's like, you know, it's gonna feel really good. You know, getting really far with it, but it's my first time no, it's not my first time ever releasing something completely by myself. But back when I did that, like, 'cause the songs that I have on my little mini album, it was somebody else's beats, you know? Other people mixed it, you know?
So you're more a live band singer.
I'm very much a live band singer, but now with like the facility gigs, I'm using backing tracks. So everything's already on a track. And then I've been so used to singing my own songs with my own backing tracks at this point too. I can do it all really. When I was a kid, I used to sing in choruses and stuff like that. So I have a lot of different background with working with different types of things. But when I first started releasing, like when I first had the calling to put my music out, that was about, I guess, 9-10 years ago. And I'm trying to think about the timeline, yeah, about that. I was always writing music. I was always, like I said, just singing and these, whatever I was feeling and thinking. I would just sit on my piano and just start writing. You know, all these things would come out, would be writing poetry. So eventually just came to this point that I had to release it. But when I first started doing that, it was like so basic. I called them blueprints, you know. And now I'm really, this song, I'm just building every aspect of making it a full composition. It's going to be beautiful. So that's the next thing that I have that, you know, with patience, because I know that there are people who are definitely ready for something next. But I want to move like this. You know, it's important to me to do this for myself, number one. The challenge of it, I love. To get out of me this whole world through the music that I'm not relying on anybody else for. And I know I can do it, and there comes that belief and that determination and all that stuff we've been talking about in the faith.
So your goal is actually to be independent.
Completely producing
all that. You own your own intellectual property.
Everything.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And so, tell them how they can find you. Plug all your Instagram, social media stuff, because we want them to be able to find Niki Rubin.
That's right.
The album Awake is on Spotify, iTunes, all the platforms. So definitely go, yes, please, like, support and all that. And then my Instagram is at Niki Rubin, which is NikiRubin. My Facebook is at Niki Rubin Music. NikiRubinMusic. Wait for a second.
Listen, and so what happens is, for some reason, when people come and sit in this room, they open up.
That's right.
They get honest. I hope the drive was worth it.
Oh yes, it was. This has been wonderful.
When you listen back to it, we talked about a lot of good things.
Yeah. And we had some fun too, Niki.
Yeah. And powerful story. You can listen. So she's been through it. She's been lost a relationship. You know, going through times growing up where, you know, she didn't feel good about herself, and she was a rebel. She was a teenage rebel. So shout out to all the teenage rebels out there who did it their way.
That's right.
And we made a lot of mistakes along the way. But listen, through all of that, she came out.
Yes, she did.
And she gives back. She's creative. She's an artist, and she loves the world, and she makes music, and what she does is about love.
All about love. That's literally everything I'm about is love. I can find a way to make every single show that I do, no matter what the theme is, no matter what the event or the holiday is, always about love.
And Hannah, what's Hannah's last name? Glinsky? Hannah G.
Yeah.
That's our PR person, right?
Yeah. Hannah, thank you for sending her. You're the bomb, Hannah. And being that we're talking about love, we end the show like we usually do. Conversations with Malik Loves You. featuring Jeff Jones.
Yes, sir.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Peace.
Peace.